All right.
All right. We good? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, then I am going to count us in. We're going to get started, everybody. Going in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for October 26, 2023 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Alan Wake 2 reviews are out, and Ichiban is taking a loan out from Tom Nook. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I was going to comically sip my coffee, but then I realized I reheated it, so it was a little too hot to do that. And I didn't want my mouth to burn.
What's the
I'm
strat
doing
on
great, Grubb.
What's the strat on reheating coffee? You just pop in the Mikey?
I just pop it in Chef Mike, give it to him for a little bit, let him heat him up. I've always been curious whether or not I should just put my coffee at home in a thermos to keep it warmer, like, an old Zojirushi joint.
Yeah, I think that's a totally fine move. Yeah, why not? I guess you associate it with like, okay, I'm going to go out and do manual labor or something.
Yeah, and I'm not about manual labor.
No.
Like my hands have become soft, and I intend to keep them this way.
Yes, exactly. It took a lot of work to get them this soft.
Exactly.
Other people's work specifically, but
exactly. And I've been curious, folks at home. Please let me know if you've had one of those mugs that stay warm or whatever, like an Ember mug, I think they're called.
Are those the ones that have like the USB ports or whatever?
Yeah, like the little heating plate.
Sure.
Let me know if those are good. I've been curious.
Seems like the kind of thing you're just going to end up with as a Christmas gift eventually, Jan. It's just going to appear in front of you.
It's shocking I haven't.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised.
That's a commentary on my friends.
Do you think that they're afraid to get you coffee stuff because you're just so honed in?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's one of those. It's like you can't get a hobbyist a gift that involves their hobby. Like, I wouldn't get Jeff Bakalar anything to do with keyboards.
No. He would scoff. He'd be like, "You got me what?
You got me these switches?
This is PCB plastic? This is horseshit? How dare you offend me with this?" And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I'm sorry.
I thought you would like it. It goes clickety clack like the keyboards you like. Yep.
All right. He chimes in.
Well, there it is. No notes. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Alan Wake 2 review roundup. Critics weigh in on a sequel 13 years in the making. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Remedy's long-awaited horror game Alan Wake 2 is launching tomorrow, October 27th. Ahead of that, reviews for the game have begun to appear online, shining the light on the critical reaction to the title. Here at GameSpot, Alan Wake 2 received a 10 out of 10. Reviewer Mark Delaney said Alan Wake 2 is a miracle illuminated with visually striking worlds across its dual campaigns. Delaney also praised the game for being extremely meta in a way that should please longtime fans of the series and longtime fans of Remedy.
What was that?
I honestly have no idea. It sounded like a cat crying. Oh, Nico, what are you doing down here, big guy? Hey, come here. He's got food coming today, so I had to give him a food cup, like a wet food. And he's like, no, I want my normal food. And so I think he's kind of freaking out. What's up, Hambo? Okay, he's heading off. All right. Yeah, that guy's, he's like 25, 26 pounds. He's a big boy. That's a big...
There we go.
That's a big piece of meat over there.
That's a little bag of rice.
Yes, absolutely. He's a Norwegian forest cat. They're big anyhow, and he's big for a Norwegian forest cat. They are just... He's got a lot going on over there. Okay, let's see. So the game is doing very well. Jen, could you maybe ever check the Metacritic while I go through some of these? Yeah, GameSpot gave it a 10. It said, yeah, the mere existence of Alan Wake 2 would have, at different points over the years, felt like a minor miracle. But for it to be this one that feels singular in its achievements and coming from a studio that refuses to shy away from the paths less traveled makes Alan Wake 2 a miracle illuminated. Game Rant, meanwhile, gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Said pros, absolutely stunning graphics, incredible audio design, brutal and engaging combat. While the cons are disappointing story, some areas are confusing to navigate, frustrating technical problems, and too many cheap scares. And Game Rant apparently ran into a lot of technical issues with the game. And that's one of the main reasons that their score is at that point. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, says Alan Wake 2 is a superb survival horror sequel that makes the cult classic original seem like little more than a rough first draft by comparison. And Games Hub gave it a 5 out of 5. Said Alan Wake 2 is almost feels mad in its approach, with an overwhelming array of threads in the tale that threaten to collapse under the pressure at any moment, yet with clear and incisive logic matched with a devotion to delightful absurdity. The team at Remedy has managed to craft a breathtaking story. VGC gave it a 5 out of 5. The Guardian gave it a 4 out of 5. Games Radar gave it a 5 out of 5. How's it doing over there on Metacritic?
It is sitting currently at 89.
That is really impressive stuff for it's really hard to get that high on Metacritic, and anything like 89 and above was a huge success. Jen, you've been playing Alan Wake 2, as have I a little bit. I've not gotten to the titular parts yet, so I'm still pretty early on. How are you doing?
Jeff Grubb. Again, I don't review website, or I don't review.
He does review websites, but not publicly. He just does this in our Slack. He's like, "This one fucking sucks, guys. This one's bad.
Yeah, these guys, what the fuck?" But I don't review video games on the website. I merely just give my impressions on Tuesdays. I would give this a 5 out of 5 wholeheartedly, Jeff Grubb. I haven't really had time to codify my thoughts, but I also don't know where in the grand scheme of this game I am in. I'm about like 10 to 15-ish hours in, and a lot of that is just me just basking in the ambiance of this world. But Jeff Grubb, I think this is a heavy hitting year, and I was trying to explain that to my partner.
Weird how, like, in the past week, we've had someone here in chat just pointed, like, just if we're just going by Metacritic, it's like a 93, a 90, and an 89 in the last week.
Right. Yeah. What an insane run. You know, that's like, and it's amazing to be witnessing it and like taking part and living through this amazing time in video games. And you know, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but this can be a very exhausting style of job where you just have to kind of churn through and play as many video games as possible to you know, help give an opinion on them. But it's this year that has kind of given me a love of video games back, and just really help remind me and give me a waypoint of as to and remap where I stand on video games and how much I love them, right? And how effective they are as a medium. But Alan Wake 2 specifically, Jeff Grubb, I think very well may be my game of the year.
Man, that's so crazy. It's like there's been like 7 of those for you this year. And I'm not surprised. Exactly. It seemed like when I was playing, I'm like, this just got so much atmosphere and attitude. And then you were like, why didn't anyone tell me this is so my shit? So I'm like, okay, Jan is into it.
And so here's the thing, like to give context to folks, I have not played through Quantum Break. I remember playing an hour of Alan Wake 1 13 years ago at a friend's house and being too spooked. And then I did play through all of Control, and I really enjoyed Control.
Yeah.
Alan Wake 2, like just jumping into it pretty fresh, given that context, it was still able to sink its hooks in me and pull me in such a way that like I haven't been able to look away, Grubb. And you know what? Give Sam Lake every fucking award.
Mm-hmm.
Give that man all of his flowers. Give that whole team at Remedy all of their fucking flowers, because they fucking stuck the landing and then some. I can see there's some frustrations with some of the level design and being a little bit stuck. But like, it is a game that really rewards you for exploring when you do get stuck and just taking the time to just bask in all of the darkness of everything. Like, this really tackles like a lot of weird parts of being a creative. and just really embracing how being a creative can really bring out the darkness in people, but like in a good way, in like harnessing that darkness and like really utilizing that to in someone's ability to tell a story. And I think it's a fantastic, gorgeous looking game, but also the underlying messages underneath it of like existing as a creative and like having to deal with having that creative block of there being 13 years since the last Alan Wake game and contending with that and contending with the pressure and contending with all of that surrounding you, but being able to stick the landing. And also, you know, some of the reviews I've read through today talk about how it handles being meta in a very unique way. And that is not an easy thing to do, especially melding gameplay with live action cutscenes and having you sit through them and having like all of this meta context of like, hey, these people are in the game, those people are in the game, this is also happening, that's also happening. This is all kind of all in one jumbled universe, but it makes sense. It's awe-inspiring. And especially where we are in movies where the whole thing is just like all these multiverses and everything. And I'm a Marvel fan, so I'm not poo-pooing on all of that, but it just becomes very oversaturated. The way that the team is able to pull this off, absolutely amazing. And it fits, it works. Grubb, this is a hard fucking year to award any type of game of the year. And
I was just thinking that, like, I'm glad we changed to what we did last year, where it's like, let's just narrow it down to 20 games, and then we'll go in there and do Eurovision. It's even getting to that 20 games, like at that 20, 21, 22, 23 spot, there's going to be some hard cuts this year, actually. It's going to be kind of tough to get people are going to have their like I got my Shadows of a Doubt, which is early access. I'm going to be okay with that one not making the top 20, but it's like, man, any other year I would be like, no, that should be in the top 20. That's doing some real wild stuff. It blows me away. It's the game I've always wanted. I've always imagined it. But this year it's like, no way is that going to make a top 20. And it's like, so it's like, if I'm cutting stuff like that already, there's going to be some harder cuts in there. And that's with 20 games. So going to be difficult to argue that this is not the best year in gaming. And really, I mean, as a wise poet once said, best time to be playing video games. It really is.
Yeah, and you know, like maybe we'll have time if the rest of the crew can continue to play through Alan Wake 2. Maybe we can sit down and have another little review cast or whatever. But I'm very, very interested in trying to put together a spoiler cast, maybe with like the GameSpot After Dark homies as well.
I'm you know what? I'm gonna blaze through this thing. So I'm gonna this is the game I'm playing now. I did start it. I was kind of hanging out in Discord after I was recording something with Mike and was playing it, and it was like, man, this is they're doing some cool stuff here, and really it's like all the Twin Peaks coded stuff of look at their guys, they're drinking their coffee, but then it's like, oh, this lady's just gonna be really weird, and like, well, what's that string? What's that thread? And then obviously, one of the main things is like, oh, the pages are describing what's going on. That's a classic Alan Wake thing, and yet still very intriguing. I can't wait to see how these characters react to it, what it means for them. I think Saga is a great character. Immediately,
fantastic name.
Yes, really good name, and of course they like set her up. Like, wait, is there more going on with her? Like, they know the tropes, they're playing with them, and you can only do that if you're someone who's been doing this for a really long time. And it kind of gets me to a point where I look at it's Sam Lake, his whole creative team, but Sam Lake and his creative team remind me a lot of like Wes Anderson, not in terms of like the product they're putting on there, but like they go back to the same toolbox every time, then they use those tools in new ways every time and explore it. They go deeper and deeper and deeper, and going back and always having like you said, the real time live action video and mixed in with gameplay. It's like, okay, we're doing that again. No, it's not like that. It's not like, oh, we're just doing that again. It is, they are using it in yet another way to unveil new ways to feel about a video game. So just popping hard for this game. Really enjoying what they have so far.
In similar ways where I felt like, and again, I'm not familiar with Quantum Break or Alan Wake 1. I'm semi-familiar with Control, but I do feel like the parts where it is live action, where there are allusions to stuff like Twin Peaks and other pieces of film or media like that. It just feels like a love letter to film, to noir, to mystery, stuff like that. In the same way I felt like Immortality was really like throwing flowers at the movie industry and really kind of like showing how you can meld movies, cinema, TV, and video games together. And this is like a perfect execution of that.
Yep, totally agree. And so you said you're about 15 hours in that range.
Yeah.
You feel like you said you no real idea of like when it's going to wrap up on you?
Mostly because like I'm just basking in everything and I'm just poring over every single thing. And despite this game spooking me a lot and me being very tense while playing through it, I'm just trying to comb through every single piece just so I have my precious resources because I'm a scaredy cat.
Yep, and it really is a super duper survival horror game. They said they were going to make one of those, and they did. And that means it is. I think I find it very scary, and also, you know, you are going to be scraping by trying to get through these enemy encounters. So, yep, my prediction is Alan Wake 2 is about to blow the hell up. It is going to be one of these horror franchises in gaming that is now going to be a staple that people are going to be asking for more of for the rest of time, alongside, you know, obviously like Resident Evil but like Silent Hill. Fear Effect, or maybe it is with the camera one, Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame. And Fear Effect's the one about the lesbians, Jam. We always get those mixed up over here.
I'm always thinking about them.
But it is going to be in that canon now, coming out of this game, I think, and that's an achievement of its own.
This is I started taking notes as if I was going to write a review for this game.
I mean, why not? I want to write a review about Mario, so I'm like, man, I should take some time to do that. But we'll see.
I'll go ask everyone for writing advice.
There you go. Absolutely. Okay, let's move along here. Japanese charts have Super Mario Brothers Wonder absolutely smashing in its debut. This is from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. The latest Japanese charts are here courtesy of Famitsu, and it showcases an absolutely stellar debut from Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Nintendo's latest flagship platformer has managed to shift an astonishing 668,634 units since its launch, and that's just physical units. Managing a full 600,000 more than Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which debuted at number 2. The only other newcomer this week is Sega's Sonic Superstars for the Nintendo Switch, which managed to shift 4,128 units. Not quite as many. It's not the most spectacular start for the Blue Blur, but Sega's mascot has always been more popular in the West than in Japan. So maybe don't take that to be indicative of what that game's going to do elsewhere. So yes, 1 week on the chart for Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Not even a full week. 668,000 units sold. That is really good. I mean, to put it in perspective, we've been talking about how great Pikmin 4 has been doing in Japan, and it has been doing very, very well in Japan. It continues to do very, very well, but it's at 922,000 after months of being on the chart. And that's like week after week of being number 1 or number 2 on the chart, and most of the time number 1. So outselling everything, and it's only about 300,000 copies ahead. This is the least surprising thing in the world, Jam. We got another story coming up right after this. In fact, let's just do it right now. Super Mario Brothers Wonder is the fastest selling Super Mario game in Europe. Fastest selling Super Mario game in Europe. This is from Nintendo Everything. Nintendo has just announced that Super Mario Brothers Wonder is off to a great start in Europe. In its first 3 days, it has already become the fastest selling Super Mario game in the region, overtaking 2017's Super Mario Odyssey. Not the least bit surprising, because 2D Mario is always just such a massive seller for Nintendo. This was definitely true in like the Wii days, where like Super Mario Brothers or New Super Mario Brothers Wii would just sell and sell and sell, and that got to like 20 million copies or something, and everything else wasn't even like half of that, except for Mario Kart. So not too surprising. Yeah, a part of me was like, but maybe the audience has moved on to 3D, and like Odyssey will kind of actually outperform this pretty easily. Seems like it could be on a path to outsell just about everything. This game could get to 25 million copies sold pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, part of what helps this is like the massive install base with the Nintendo
100%,
Switch,
yes,
right. But on top of that, it's an amazing game. It's a wonderful game. But the appetite for a proper 2D Mario game is out there. And when you compile that with all of the polish and all of everything that's been added to this game, it is absolutely no brainer. Also, add that to the rising popularity of the Mario movie from, was that this year? Last year.
No, that was earlier. This is before summer, but it was this year.
It was this year.
It was this year, yeah.
And combine that with like the popularity of the Universal Studios park in Japan and here, the upcoming one in Florida's Universal Studios. It's a hot time for Mario.
Yes. You're right. It's all coming together. And it's like, even if it wasn't all coming together, the expectations for this game would be pretty similar in terms of, yeah, maybe being the fastest selling Mario game of all time. But boy, that it does have the wind at its back right now, clearly. Jamie H. Christmas Eve in chat points out that Odyssey did 2.5 million worldwide in 3 days. So if we kind of like look at, the fastest selling in Europe, 600,000, like 80,000, whatever it was in Japan, just physical. Let's add another 400,000 top on that to be conservative. 1 million in Japan alone already. It's crushing it. It's crushing
it. And that's physical copies, right?
600,000. That 600,000 is physical only in Japan. Yes.
Insane.
One country.
Absolutely
and obviously
insane.
Japan, huge on Mario. But boy,
of course.
They're not, I mean, they used to be huge on a lot of things that they're not huge on anymore. Mario maintaining in a way that very few things actually do.
It's insane to think, like, put that in perspective, which you were talking about with Pikmin 4. And I feel like we've talked about Pikmin 4 being number one at the sales charts for weeks,
since it came out.
Months, since it came out. And for Super Mario Brothers Wonder to absolutely obliterate that is insane.
Yep. And it's it goes to show, like, Nintendo's very good at turning these some of its, I want to say newer, Pikmin's 20 years old, some of its lesser franchises, and making them feel bigger on the Switch. And in Japan, they've had a lot of success doing that. Around the world, they've had a lot of success doing that. But it's not like that's to the detriment or to the lessening of what happens with Mario and Zelda. No, those are big and also getting bigger at all times. So pretty good for this game. Also, it's like, man, why didn't you do this a long time ago? Why didn't you have a new, but not new, Super Mario Brothers game at the 2D game at the beginning of this generation for the Switch? You probably would have done even better, and this thing would still be selling. Like, this thing's going to sell for years. I'm like so confused, like what they're going to do with that transition for the new system and how these games are going to look on the shelf if they sort of just be like, no, that game's going to work on here, so you could keep buying it, or if there's going to be a new version of it or something. They might deluxe it like they did Mario Kart. Either way, they will find a way to keep selling this game, though, Jan, for sure.
Well, it really cements Grubb. Switch, one of the like Mount Rushmore of consoles at this point.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, that's kind of without a doubt at this point in my mind, but I'm like, I want to like talk it out and like see what else could even be up there. But boy, yeah, Switch. I have not had a better time with a console this consistently ever. I mean, maybe the Xbox 360's up there. That was really good, thanks to all that good online stuff. And that's back when playing online games on console was really fun. There's some other stuff. Yeah, that's not fun anymore. There's some other stuff that like we can have in that conversation. But yeah, Switch feels like number one with a bullet right now. All right. Talked Mario. We talked Alan Wake 2. We got a lot more coming up. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get back to it right after this. Wake up, Jan. We're back. Our boy got a nap. That means we can continue along with a little bit more Mario news. Paper Mario, The 1,000-Year Door, has already been rated for Switch. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. In case you somehow missed it, the highly praised GameCube exclusive Paper Mario The 1,000-Year Door is making a return on the Switch at some point next year. In an update, it's been revealed that the turn-based RPG has now been rated in both Brazil and Korea. South Korea specifically. I don't know if North Korea's rating games out there. Suggesting everything is running on schedule. The title was originally announced during Nintendo's September Direct Showcase. When it does eventually arrive, fans can expect the same classic game with updated graphics. It's a similar approach to the one Nintendo seems to be taking with Super Mario RPG, due out next month on the Switch. As highlighted by the person who posted this on Twitter, this earlier than expected classification for rating could mean the GameCube hit might be returning a lot sooner in 2024 than people were expecting. I was expecting sometime in summer. Usually the way it works out with these ratings is the rating happens and then it's 6 to 10 weeks we get the game. So maybe early 2024 we're getting this. That timing might change here or there. But I think I've heard that time frame in the past for this stuff. And when you kind of look back, like, oh, it got rated in South Korea, and then we get our announcement, and it comes out pretty soon afterward. So hey, we might be playing this pretty early in the year next year. That kind of just leaves that Princess Peach game, which I think is slated for next summer, and then the Luigi's Mansion 2 re-release from 3DS onto the Switch. Probably not much else is going to be happening with the Switch, but yeah, get that out early. And I think it's smart to do this, Jam, because the last time that they had a big RPG Mario remake at the end of the generation and it overlapped with the Switch launching, that game got completely lost, and Alpha Dream made those Mario and Luigi games had to close down because the games performed so poorly. So getting this out early and then leaving a lot of room for the Switch 2 to do whatever it's doing later in the year makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, especially when you are riding off of the momentum of Mario right now.
Yeah.
And there's an appetite for more Mario games. And this is definitely, the Thousand Year Door is definitely going to be a title that people will be visiting for the very first time. So getting that way before any inklings of a Switch 2 or any solid inklings of a Switch 2 coming out will continue that momentum. And, you know, hopefully this will reach audiences that it missed the first time or is hitting for the first time.
Yep. People pointed out that Peach is March 22nd, which is my birthday. Thanks, Marino. Thanks, Suplami.
Thanks, Nintendo.
Suplami? Yeah. Supalmi. I listen, I think Mario getting like kind of bang, 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 bang game releases, especially since the genres can be so disparate, that makes a lot of sense. It just makes me wonder, like, why are they like one Zelda per year and sometimes not even that? I know that like in the past they said like one Zelda per year. And I say that like kind of thinking also at the same time, Nintendo treats Zelda with a little bit more reverence than it even does Mario. Like the Mario 3D collection, Super Mario 3D All-Stars. It's kind of a bummer collection when you get into it. And it's like, man, Super Mario Sunshine's still going to be 30 frames per second. You didn't even want to do anything about that. But then like the Zelda remakes are like, hey, we HD'd it, we HD'd everything, and we made the game better in all these really subtle ways. We went in there and edited it and curated it and made sure that like all these things that weren't quite as fun are now super fun. And it's like they never do that with the Mario games. So, but at the same time, then we do get Mario game after Mario game. And I don't know. How do you think? How do you think Nintendo views Mario? Something they can like always rely on trotting out, and it's never going to wear out its welcome?
I think they treat Mario that way, and that they have to be. Sometimes it feels like they are more precious about how they roll out Zelda, and sometimes it just feels like they forget about all the other stuff that they have in their pocket. Like you could be rolling out more spin-off Metroid games, right?
Yep.
You could be rolling out more spin-off Zelda games, especially. It's weird, and it's interesting to see how you have so many spin-off Mario games. Like you have the home tour, live tour circuit, whatever it's called, still don't remember. But you have like the mobile game Mario Run and all these experiments where I think Mario has proven to be a known quantity that they can consistently rely on it, and the Mario family to produce returns for them. Like that's why we have so many Mario playing so many sports with his homies. What's Zelda doing? You know, how come Link could be playing lacrosse? Perhaps.
Yeah. And that was, I mean, obviously part of that is back in the day on, you know, Game Boy Advance, on Super Nintendo, N64, even the Wii. Those games were easier to produce, didn't require as many, you know, hard like difficult assets, like, you know, making HD assets is more time consuming. They're going to be moving on maybe to like 4K assets, although we'll see. I have no idea with the next system. And that's going to be even more time consuming. So these companies, I think Nintendo's like, we're going to be more picky and choosy about what we do with these things. And maybe we don't get a Metroid pinball game anymore because of that. And I'm like, I hope they just continue to find a way to do that stuff. They do it with Mario, like, and then that includes like the Wario games and all these other things, this extended universe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that they still do that with those characters. I just wish maybe they could get in there and mix it up with Zelda and even Metroid a little bit.
I remember thinking when Cadence of Hyrule came out, being very excited because of what the possibilities would come from
100% with you
from that afterwards,
yep.
Right? Like
I was such a fool for thinking that would be like,
we were all fools.
That was indicative
back then.
Yeah, we were so innocent and didn't know. Our stupid pretty little heads knew nothing, completely empty. Sean does point out that I completely forgot that Metroid Prime 4 is still supposed to come out. And when I think about it, when I actually think about that game, which I try not to, because they don't talk about it, so why should I think about it? I don't want to get my hopes up. But when I think about it, I'm like, no, that will still come out on the Switch. They would have said something by now if that wasn't going to happen. I mean, I guess they don't have to. Maybe after they announce the next system is when they would maybe do that, maybe announce it at the same time. But in my head, it's like, nah, that thing's probably still going to come out on the Switch. So I suppose that's their big game for next year. All right. We'll see. Hey, there's some breaking news over from Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft reorgs its Xbox and marketing team to prepare for an AI and gaming future. Let's take a look here. Microsoft is reorganizing its Xbox gaming and market leadership less than 2 weeks after acquiring Activision Blizzard. Microsoft is promoting Matt Booty to president of game content and studios, including the new responsibility of ZeniMax. Sarah Bond is being promoted to Xbox president, overseeing all Xbox platform and hardware work. On the marketing side, Chief Marketing Officer Chris Copasela is stepping down after 32 years at Microsoft. The Xbox changes mean Booty will now lead an expanded organization inside Microsoft Gaming that now includes ZeniMax and Bethesda. ZeniMax will continue to operate as a limited integration entity led by Jamie Leder, president and CEO, reporting to Matt, explains Microsoft's gaming CEO Phil Spencer in an internal memo obtained by The Verge. Booty's expanded role should help Microsoft Gaming avoid scenarios like Redfall in the future, with Microsoft clearly focusing on better collaboration between the teams it acquired with ZeniMax / Bethesda acquisition. Great games are fundamental to everything we do, explains Spencer in his memo. We believe that an expanded gaming content organization, one that enables Xbox Game Studios and ZeniMax's development studios to collaborate effectively together, will empower those world-class studios to do their best work in growing our portfolio of games players love. Bond will now take over the hardware and software platform of Xbox to manage the platform of today and build the platform of tomorrow. We are bringing together the team that will make this possible, explains Spencer. Sarah Bond will lead this team as president of Xbox, bringing together devices, player and creator experiences, platform engineering, strategy, business planning, data and analytics, and business development. I think we know now, or at least have an idea now, why oh my God, his name is escaping me. Homeboy just left Bethesda, just announced his retirement. God, it's still going to escape me. But
Hines.
Yes, Pete Hines. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chad. Thank you, Jan. It is also the kind of thing that I think fans of Xbox and critics of Xbox have sort of been asking for, at least when it comes to how ZeniMax is being handled. Hey, you don't have to go in there and micromanage, but have hands on the reins a little bit. How does a Redfall happen? And I think we are all still pretty confused about how a Redfall happens. You spend all this money buying this company. They are working on this game. You don't tell them to cancel the game. You let them keep working on it, presumably thinking that it's going to be good. But then like you couldn't go there and see for yourself that it probably wasn't going to be, and then you did nothing about it. So this seems like an answer to that. But I don't know. How do you feel about it, Jan?
It's similar to how it feels baffling that Disney announced that, like, hey, we're gonna have showrunners for all of these shows now. Every show's gonna have a Bible,
1 million
a production Bible.
Yes.
When it's like you threw all that money to solve a problem, but you weren't actually solving the problem. And you know, I'm not a fan of micromanaging, but you're right, Grubb. Some light reins. Maybe put people on a train track and they can go, right? Give them a destination.
Yeah, and build processes that people can rely on to be like, here's how we solve this. Here's how we create these ideas and things like that. And if there's a Tim Schafer out there that you know is going to be doing Tim Schafer shit, be like, no, you don't do this process. You do your own thing. You have your own thing and it's been fine. But if like we're working with these other teams and they're feeling a little bit lost or like looking for some guidance, just have the support there all up and down the chain of like, here's what that looks like. And again, I think you're with no micromanagement. I think typically the people working on the problem better understand the issues with the problems itself than anyone from a central location looking down and telling them what to do. But like in terms of establishing a certain level of expectations, having high expectations is beneficial. You know, I always think about the year of the dragon thing, where it's like in China, when kids are born, they're born into a certain year, and like, oh, the year of the rat, the year of the wolf or whatever. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but the year of the dragon one is like, oh, those kids actually always perform super well, and they're like, is there something special about the Year of the Dragon? It's like, yeah, the parents have high expectations, so they put a lot more effort into those kids, and they get them tutors and all these other things, because they think, no, you're a dragon kid, you're going to do really well. High expectations work. So establishing those expectations and then providing the hand to like pull the studio up to those expectations can make a difference. But that was not happening with something like Redfall, obviously.
Yeah. The other hope is that creating some type of processes or having some type of oversight can also prevent studios from being, employees specifically, from being exploited, and preventing crunch. That if there are proper measures put into place that like, hey, like, you know, like this is the timeline for this, or like there are people overseeing studios of like, yo, stop being a dick. And, you know, there's been a lot of complaints and cases brought up within Activision Blizzard, allegations of very, very disappointing and bad behavior, that hopefully shit like that gets tamped out.
Yeah, you would like also hope like, hey, now Sarah Bond and being in charge of Xbox, a prominent woman in gaming who has been in a leadership position for a long time, clearly has the chops. Now coming in, she can establish some a culture that spreads throughout the entire organization, and then this reorganization that doesn't seem like it involves layoffs. So I guess that's something. Although one person did say they were stepping down, although that was after decades, 32 years, kind of maybe a natural stepping off point. Anyhow, I hope that they're able to accomplish exactly what you described. Just, hey, let's be the mature company that we always claim Microsoft is these days. We say this all the time. We're the adults in the room. Twitter's a mess, and Facebook wants all your weird shit, and Apple charges you way too much money for hardware. We're the adults, and in Congress, you could trust us. Regulators, you could trust us, even after this whole the tiff with with Activision. Still, it's like they're coming out of that looking pretty clean, and I think they want to project that vision of themselves. Well, now it's time to for the rubber to meet the road and actually accomplish that. So we'll see. I think that this is a sign that they are they're active in trying to establish Xbox as a long-term success, and not being like, well, we spent all that money, now it's just gonna happen, right?
It's the opposite of the Embracer situation.
Yeah,
right?
It does the right way. Yeah.
Where Embracer literally threw money in acquiring many studios, and because they did not deliver, because there was no type of oversight, right, or any type of care put into those studios,
no vision whatsoever,
no vision, and just an expectation for them to have some type of return. That, of course, now they're trying to get rid of all of that, and Embracer is pooping the bed. Meanwhile, the hope is that Microsoft can deliver. And we talked about this on the Bombcast, but with the head of Microsoft saying we're doubling down on games. This definitely feels, this very structured reorg hopefully feels like a step in the right direction.
Yeah,
I hate that I still see Bobby K's face on this graph though.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Let's take a look at that actually.
What a goober.
Yeah, that's a real shame. He is, they keep saying he's going to be out by the beginning of next year. So yeah, it's Phil Spencer at the top. And then, they're probably Bobby Kotick's there because that is a slot that exists. And then Bobby Kotick's going to leave. And we're not going to just absorb Activision Blizzard into, that's not going to be Phil's responsibility. So there will be someone in that spot, hopefully. But you're right. I hate seeing this stupid goddamn face. All right, let's move along here.
I don't body shame, but I Bobby shame.
Yeah, we got to Bobby shame. We got to keep Bobby shaming as a tool in our toolbox as well over here. All right, there was a Xbox developer partner showcase yesterday with a bunch of third-party games. It was pretty good. I had a pretty good time watching that because it was brisk and fast, and they showed some things I wasn't expecting. It wasn't new announcements for the most part, but I was not expecting to see Metal Gear Solid Delta's first in-engine look. And it makes it all worth the wait. And that's from Christina Ibanez at Twinfinite. If you were already blown away by Metal Gear Solid Delta's first reveal, then you'll undoubtedly be more astonished by its first in-engine look, taking you back to the jungles of Soviet Russia. This trailer I thought looked really good, but this is our first chance to actually see this game really in action.
Yeah.
And Jen, I thought it looked fantastic. It's really the details on everything and how alive the game looks and feels, which is important for a game that does take place in a jungle.
I can't help but be ever so slightly hesitant, though, Grubb, just knowing that Kojima's no longer involved, and
of course
Konami is still involved. I mean, they
Konami's
have
still
to
very
be
involved. Yep.
Where I feel, or I hope that a lot of the intentions of the game are still intact, and that it's not just like, hey, it's just Metal Gear again, but you're just killing dudes without all the weird shit.
Yeah, I think it'll be very easy for them to do paint by numbers here with that stuff. But we know like what Metal Gear looks like without Kojima, and it's Metal Gear Survive, and that's not what I want personally. I think some that game has some defenders, I think, for like what it was trying to do, but not necessarily for trying to be a Metal Gear game. When it comes to this one, I think Virtuous, which is the studio in South Korea, I believe, who's doing this, they seem to just be like, hey, let's make that game again, but let's make it look as beautiful as possible. And I think they could pull that off. I'm just worried about what happens with Metal Gear going forward after this point. Like, if they try to make a real sequel or something like that, or continue that story, then they're going to be completely lost in the woods. Konami's not going to know what to do with that stuff. They have enough games that they can remake for now, that it's probably going to be just fine. You know, this happens. Time moves on. These games, the creators move on to other stuff. The IP still exists, and then we have to be like, okay, are they just going to go away forever? And obviously, it never does. So, kind of hope for the best case scenario of it feels true to the original vision, which this does seem like it is, according to people who know a bunch of this story. Actually, here, Christina Ibanez from Twinfinite, huge Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater fan, and cool. She kind of goes through a bunch of stuff of like how she's feeling pretty good about what she sees here. And I heard the same from Dan and Mike yesterday. So
good to hear.
Yes, exactly. Also from that Xbox event, the new Yakuza game goes full Animal Crossing. This is from James Carr at GameSpot. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth will feature a side activity called Dondoko Island, which looks like an Animal Crossing game. Dondoko Island features an island life sim separate from the usual crime-filled chaos of the Yakuza series, giving the characters a chance to relax. And when we say like goes full Animal Crossing, it's just so Animal Crossing in such a cool way. Yeah. The idea of like Yakuza can be anything. Like a Dragon now is what it's called, but yeah, Like a Dragon can be anything. You can these characters have the breadth to be very serious and have stories about their traumas. And then in the next moment, you can be doing fun dance parties or running a bar or something like that.
The duality of man.
Yeah, the duality of man. So them like recognizing that that's a strength of this series and leaning into it hard and be like, what if we love Animal Crossing? What if we just did one of those? I'm really excited about this, Jan.
Yeah, and I like a fresh take on the Animal Crossing formula, and combined with the silliness that comes with the Yakuza series, I just can't wait for Ichiban to take a loan to just get an island.
Yep. Get deep into debt and then just pay it back by just slowly getting apples off of trees. Just really upsetting Mike Minotti. It's going to be good stuff.
I can't wait to party with Ichiban on an island.
Me too. I mean, listen, going to Hawaii with this franchise alone, like that's really interesting. I mean, just the idea that they're getting out of the Kamurocho that they've been in. It's like, listen, I like that they had that same setting for game after game after game. I thought that made a ton of sense. It's working for Spider-Man, works for Yakuza. But they look like they're putting a ton of love into this Hawaii setting, and then having this whole other separate island mini game in there. It's very cool.
Grubb, why is Sega so confusing?
I mean, because they're relatively pretty good at making video games. They're just bad at figuring out what to do with those video games a lot of times. They're just bad at running a business, really, is the big thing.
You guys are so silly over there.
Silly is what they are. A bunch of silly gooses. All right. Ark Survival Ascended launches to mixed reviews on Steam due to trash optimization. This is another game that kind of had its moment at that Xbox event. This comes from Kyle Knight at DualShockers. Some tidbits here. Ark Survival Ascended, the Unreal Engine 5 remaster of Ark Survival Evolved, has been heavily criticized for poor optimization and stuttering frames. The game received backlash for its original price and lack of included DLC packs, causing delays in its release. Studio Wildcard has also announced a delay in the console release of Survival Ascended due to critical issues in the multiplayer version of the game. This seems like if you're gonna like not rush a game at any point in history, it feels like right now is the time not to rush a game, because you're gonna rush this out into this climate. Now, I suppose survival games have the survival game audience, and they are separate from everyone else. That is
to survive.
They're built to survive. They are built different. But still, man, you could have just released it early next year, take a little bit more time, and not have come out in a week where we had 3 games that are 89 on Metacritic or higher, and then you've got several more still coming, and you have like 20 Game of the Year considerations already happening. But whatever, this game's also going to be completely fine. This stuff is going to happen. They're going to fix it, and then this game's going to have 50,000 to 100,000 concurrent players every day 3 years from now. So I at the same point, it's like, okay, this doesn't ever really hurt these things all that much, so why wouldn't they do it this way?
It's so baffling, Rob, whenever you come across forks in this industry where it's like, wow, there's a whole mess of people over there. How the fuck did they get here? Why are they there?
Mm-hmm.
And it is very interesting. I'd love to see like a piece on the ARC heads out there that are ride or die for ARC, because at the same time, I have zero interest in this. That trailer that they showed yesterday, anything I've ever heard from ARC, zero interest in. Nothing can ever grab me, even though I am okay with Vin Diesel and support the Fast family. ARC does nothing for me. But you said it perfectly, Grubb. 3 years from now, this game is still going to have an obscene and shocking amount of people still playing it because reasons.
Yep, because I mean, it's a kind of game that you could just play like my dad played golf, right? You just get on there with your friends and you go out there and you're doing kind of the same stuff. You're going through the patterns, but it's still challenging, and there's fun challenges you could take on. So yeah, and we say all this. ARK Survival Ascended is the top-selling game on Steam right now. So that's how it goes. I actually want to see if it's on the most played, because yesterday we talked about this when it's like, oh, it had like 50,000 for ARK Survival Evolved. Now ARK Survival Ascended has 48,000 concurrent players, 48,800, and that's its highest point ever. So it's still on the rise. We'll see where it settles in later today, maybe, but it's at number 24 on the most played games on Steam at the moment. Right above, let's see, Lost Ark, which is not confusing, and right behind Love is All Around, which looks like an FMV game where pretty ladies kiss you from Japan.
What?
I'll send it to you, Jan. I'll slack it to you. Don't worry, buddy.
Anyone got a code for this?
Okay, but finally from this, the finals open beta kicks off this week with unlocked rewards carrying forward to launch. This is from Cameron Coe at GameSpot. This is another game in that Xbox showcase. The finals, the free-to-play shooter from developer Embark Studios, will kick off its open beta on October 26th. It will be the game's first beta test supporting cross-platform play and cross-progression between current-gen consoles and PC. Players will be able to test out the fast-paced action shooter from the ex-Battlefield devs for a little over a week, with the beta ending on November 5th. There's still no release date for this game, Jan, but I have to imagine if this is like a carrying over from the beta situation, they're probably going to announce a release date soon for this thing. It's probably out before the end of the year. Did this one strike your fancy at all? It was just kind of a cacophonous noise to me. I couldn't really make heads or tails of it.
Mildly interested. It shows very well, but you are right about the cacophonous nature of it. It seems like a lot of flash in the pan. And it's going to be interesting to see when it is slowed down how it actually plays like, right? Because you can make as flashy of a trailer as possible, but when you're playing something actually like Siege, there is a lot of slowdown and there is a lot of quieter moments in the games. I'm wondering how this will take with like the greater audience. Also, especially if it's a free-to-play game, which can go one of two ways, actually one of several ways these days. But also it's like, is the appetite there for this style of game? Is the appetite there for battle royales still? And I know that PUBG is one of the most played games on Steam right now.
Yeah.
Fortnite is still incredibly popular, but those are behemoths. Those are machines that have already been set into place and have their player bases like ARK. I guess, that are still tuning in. It's going to be very hard, and it's an uphill battle for the finals to try and stick the landing here. Also, what was that Ubisoft game that had to delay their beta even?
Oh, there's so many.
X-Defiant.
Oh,
right?
yeah, X-Defiant. X-Defiant got like it's delayed indefinitely in terms of like we don't know, like it hasn't been defined its new release date, but it got pushed way off to the point where it's like, maybe next year sometime or something like that. It's not canceled or anything like that. Not even on ice, just delayed indefinitely.
Also, Grubb, I just saw what you put on the screen, and I thought you were showing my screen at first, and I got a little scared. I was going to bring this up.
Why would you think that's your screen, Jan?
Because I'm looking at the same trailer. Audio listeners, Grubb temporarily put up the Love Is All Around trailer on Steam, and I was going to bring this up before Grubb asked me a question, but there's some intentional marketing going around and intentional color schemes going around for a game with pretty ladies in it to have maybe a menu color palette of white, black, and orange, and it's a very specific hue of orange. I'm not put that out there.
I'm nodding like I understand what he's getting at here, but I don't know if I'm
y'all know what I'm talking about. There's a specific sound all you Susios out there.
Okay, now I get it. All right, yeah, totally. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, my bookmarks here. Okay, there we go. Fair enough. They're definitely trying to suggest it here. This one is not even like, it's just single player dating sim visual novel FMV. So this one doesn't even get to like the porny stuff. I think it's just like, hey, girlfriend experience sort of thing. So knock yourselves out, kids. That is one of the most played games on Steam right now. Steam is a magical place. I just can't be mad at it ever. Speaking of everyone chat asking for it.
What game is this again?
Just so I can avoid it? No, Sean Foley will. There we go. Love Is All Around. Girlfriend experience is very porny stuff, Grubb. Okay, hey, lesson learned. All right, I put stuff out there. You correct me. That's how this works. That's how we do this show. Valve is, speaking of Steam, Valve is dropping Turkish and Argentinian currencies on Steam. This is from Sophie McAvoy at gamesindustry.biz. Valve is changing the currency used for sales in Argentina and Turkey on Steam to US dollars next month due to exchange rate volatility. Really what this means is people in Argentina have been, the peso is very up and down. I know this because Christian, but also I listen to the news a little bit. I don't know what's going on with Turkey. I assume it's probably something pretty similar. Lots of inflation causing one day you have this amount of money and the next day you can't even buy anywhere near the thing you were going to get yesterday. It's pretty volatile. And Valve has done a pretty good job of trying to keep that stuff hey, we're still going to use it. We're still going to use it. And it's reached a breaking point where they just can't do it anymore. This same thing happened when they were we're accepting Bitcoin. Yeah, we'll accept Bitcoin. And then it was by the time between when you bought the game for Bitcoin and when we received the Bitcoin, it dropped 55%. We can't do this anymore. So I think they're trying to avoid situations like that. And the reality is there's no end in sight for the volatility of many of these currencies. So yeah, it's rough stuff out there. What it means for other people is, hey, if you were doing the thing of setting your region to Argentina and buying games really cheap over there, they have gotten rid of that loophole. So yeah, that was definitely happening. People are definitely doing a lot of that. Okay.
You kept saying Love Is All Around, and I wanted to sing the Mary Tyler Moore theme song, but then you started talking about serious things again, and I was like, maybe I better just let that lie.
Pornhub isn't that serious, Mike. I know you consider it very serious, but
love is all around, no need to waste it. You can have the town, why don't you take it? Jeff's gonna make it after all.
I am the Mary Tyler Moore of Giant Bomb. I've always considered myself that, Jan.
We say this about you all the time.
Thank you for that, Mikey. All right. We have a poll question from some point this week, yesterday even. I'm going to bring that up right now after I get it resized, after I tried to make Love Is All Around fit into this screen. There we go. What do you want Insomniac to make after Wolverine? That's from yesterday, right? That's the one from yesterday?
I posted yesterday's.
Yeah, let me refresh here. Let me do that. There it is. There, I found it. I'm a very smart boy. Who is cooler, Kyle Katarn, Dash Rendar, or who the hell are these people? 52% said, who the hell are these people? Because I'm old. 30% said Kyle Katarn, and just 18% said Dash Rendar. I personally voted for Dash Rendar, even though I know Kyle Katarn is cooler. I know it. I know. I get it.
Dash Rendar feels like a knockoff of a Star Wars character.
No, totally. And yet I love him all the same. The deep respect for Dash Rendar. Is Mike okay? He just keeps saying "oh no" a lot.
Did he realize he's old?
I think he might be realizing he's old. That seems possible. Yeah, that totally seems likely here. All right, let's see it. What do we have going on in Giant Bomb this week while we get the next poll question?
I definitely realize I'm old. I come in here singing the fucking Mary Tyler Moore theme song, and now people don't know who Dash Rendar is. It's not good. I'm dying. Ow.
I did wonder why, like, he seemed committed to this Mary Tyler Moore thing. I saw him in chat saying that. I'm like, he's going to realize that's going to get him called a boomer by chat, and he's going to give up on it. But it's Mike. He doesn't give up, and I respect that about him.
Yeah, I respect that about Mike as well.
Jan, what do we have happening?
What we have happening today is another episode of the voicemail dump truck, followed by Friday night forking. Everybody, it's the 4th of July. Get your forks out. Nothing bad can happen with Jeff Bakalar. But before the dump truck today, we have the Mario Wonder Grand Prix. What that's going to look like, still up in the air.
We're figuring it out. We have some ideas.
And gosh, what else is going on? Game S mornings tomorrow, as well as a UPF, which looks like we might be busting some stuff.
I think we should do that. I would love to do that. We got to also find some spots in this calendar for Alan Wake too, because people are I might want to stream some of me playing that from the very beginning, just so we can do a stream like that, so people don't get worried about spoilers.
There's a setting.
There's a setting. There's a
there's a specific. You started the game, right?
Yeah, I started it. I saw it.
Well, it starts with a certain a lot of the.
That's a penis.
Yes, I think there is a setting to hide all of that.
There's a Puritan setting. Okay, set the Puritanity to 100, please, for us here in America.
That boy had meat.
That's a big boy, slightly bigger than my cat, just slightly though. All right. Let's see here. New poll question. Let's see. I wrote it down here. Let's see. Okay. Have you played the original Alan Wake before? Yes or no? I'm just kind of curious going into this game, what people are going to be bringing into it. Jen, you said you played an hour of it. Have you felt lost? Have you felt like, boy, I wish I would have played Alan Wake, or even like watched something about it? How are you feeling about it?
I think initially I wish there was some type of last time on Alan Wake type of like summary, because I feel like the series kind of lends itself to it. But I didn't find myself too lost, especially because, you jump in initially as Saga and she's new to everything. So it's like, okay, well, you are like, you're an analog for the player jumping into this, and you through osmosis have picked up on stuff regarding Alan Wake, so it mirrored my own experience. Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't think people should hold themselves back from playing Alan Wake 2 at all. Jump into it. It is a game worthy of the scores it's getting and the praise it's getting, and don't be like, oh well, I got to play Alan Wake before I'm even going to allow myself to play this one. No, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, the GameSpot crew has put together a bunch of videos as well to kind of catch you up on the lore of everything. So I highly suggest you go watch those.
Yeah, they hate Alan Wake over there. They don't just despise all Remedy games. Don't have any love for them at all. It's a joke because that's all they talk about. They love those games over there. Very excited about this. I'm excited for them. All right. Anything else we mentioned? Although we got the Mario Grand Prix coming up later today. What time is that? We said 1 p.m. 2 p.m.?
1 p.m. or maybe 1:30.
It's going to be happening a little bit later, guys. At least an hour from now, but we might move it around a little bit to accommodate schedules. So just keep an eye on our social media. Keep an eye on the Twitch page. We'll have that going live. In the meantime, though, Jan, thank you so much for spending time today talking with me about video games. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Jeff Grubb. It's the best way to start a Thursday morning.
Thank you all for watching. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself. And Ubisoft is delaying a game. Maybe a Star Wars game. We don't know. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Goodbye.
Mwah.
All right. We've done it.
Goodbye, YouTube.
Goodbye.